Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Can you speak? Yes, you can.
Activated. Okay.
That's what I was currently testing, if it's actually possible to speak here while using the voice activity, or if you need to press push to talk.
Yeah, no, I can speak.
Okay. So is everything to your convenience? Do you feel properly taken care of in terms of your mouth, your
What?
speaking abilities?
Do I feel like I'm capable of speaking? Yeah.
Okay, I don't want any accusations of me silencing you, while you're here to rant about stuff, because that is what this first episode, the pilot, the official pilot of our new, well, it doesn't have to be ours, it's probably going to be shit, so it's probably just going to be mine, and you can show up whenever you want to, because I figured what would be the best possible podcast where we would be essentially allowed to say whatever we want about whatever stuff we want and just make it pretty straightforward, straight from the very beginning, when it comes to kind of asserting what it's about. And I felt like, hey, let's rant about stuff is probably the best possible title for it.
It's very fitting.
Right?
I think a lot of people can relate to let's rant about stuff.
Yes, let's just rant about stuff. It can be me, it can be you if you just want to rant about stuff and for some reason post it on my channel. I'm completely okay with that. It's like, let's rant about John, that fucking asshole. I'm gonna ask him to then post it on his channel though, because people need to know.
Yeah, John, this is about you. Why don't you post it, eh?
Yeah, I guess. I am an open book, and I would like this podcast to reflect that. And what better way to start this world-renowned series of podcasts, because there is not really enough podcasts in the world, and we need more of them. And I feel like with our production quality and with our renting ability, we have truly struck gold when it comes to useless podcasts, and this will certainly be one of them of all times.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So let's rant about ARK, because that is a subject, a topic dear to our hearts, as much as cocaine is dear to a drug addict's vein. So let's...
Cocaine doesn't go into the veins.
Oh, okay. You
snort it.
Oh, okay. I thought you swallow it for some reason.
No. You would get into so much trouble. You'd be dead if you tried taking these things.
Listen, I honestly don't know much about drugs, okay? So let's be lenient with the judgment.
I'll let you off then.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we essentially both are in a privileged position to play the newest ARK DLC, The Lost Colony. We've been playing it for a few weeks now, maybe even a month, since like the Christmas times when we got our copies for free, our keys for free really. And I would like to hear your overall opinion, because we always talk about these things in DMs, but I feel like there is a certain charm in just expressing it, from the top of your lungs without putting too much effort into, do I make sense in this little paragraph of text? Let's just be raw and just be natural. So tell me, what is your initial impression about the ARK Lost Colony DLC within the context of ARK?
So I'm not really a lore person when it comes to ARK. I know there's lots of it. There's all the characters and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like, although this one it's going for a story, I can still enjoy it and not have to understand the story.
Right, so you're kind of enjoying the how should I call it? It's not exactly scripted, it's not exactly linear, it lets you do whatever the heck you want and you can still experience something that is not exactly traditional to ARK, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously, I know some of the things are Rockwell's experiments and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we know the operation essentially crash landed, into this, what is essentially Earth, right? The RANT Prime.
Mm-hmm. So, I get all that, but I don't have to. I can still play it and just enjoy it for, as just another ARK for me.
Yeah, that to me is actually one of the most charming things about ARK, because you don't have to do a lot of stuff. You can just find your own niche within this sandbox. It's the most sandboxy survival game of them all, in my opinion, because you can genuinely watch streams of people on Twitch and every time they're doing something different, they have different settings, they have different mods, it's just so different. Like one time I raided someone and they just kept raising babies, like 100 babies every second. It was just a factory. It was factory farming. They literally like had a gun that was like cryopoding them, and they were just releasing those babies en masse, and it was very efficient and very horrifying. I presume they were doing like mass mutation experiments or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So it was, of course, she had like a halo, she had anime wings, and it was all sorts of deprived. But I cannot judge it, just like I can judge you for example, boosting certain settings so that your dinos don't die because you're very peculiar about your companions. It's not just like random pixels to you, it's actual creatures that you care about. So yeah, I love this about ARK, that it gives you the tools to essentially make your own fun with it.
It's extremely customizable.
Yeah, and
Which is
essentially
great.
all games should, if they want people like us.
I feel like with ARK as well, they embrace the modern side of things. They don't pretend that they can do everything, and mods are like, obviously mods are optional, but they don't pretend that their product is absolutely amazing and you don't need any of this. It's kind of like, if you want to add mods, look, we've got this list. Come get some.
For anyone that may have found difficulties understanding Solitaire right now, she is Geordie and she can help it. Whenever she gets passionate about certain things, her accent goes from, I would say, like 7 to 700. So don't beat yourself up. It's not your ears. I didn't understand her either. But regardless, there is definitely always a strong point behind those wise words that she offers. So
I was complimenting how they treat mods.
thank you. Yes, wonderful. Sorry, I had to disclose that, for our listeners from across the world who may not be familiar.
It's best people know about my disability up front.
Yes.
My Geordieism.
I mean, in this day and age, let's rant about disclosure of certain people on the internet, especially on Discord, when it comes to disclosing their special needs and disabilities.
Oh, that can be its own episode,
Yes. We will keep that one for later. But
yes,
for this one, let's just clarify, that Solitaire is Geordie and it is not her fault. We love her nonetheless. And let's not make fun of her in the comments.
Oh, we can make fun. That's fine.
Okay, maybe just a little bit. But expect a brick to go through your window, if your comment is not at least original or funny.
Wise words. Very wise.
Very well. So you would say that, the Lost Colony is ARK, right? And any ARK is essentially good ARK. It's better than no ARK. And so overall, your experience was positive, I would say, right?
I'd say overall, but I'm very lenient towards ARK. So I will let ARK get away with things that other games absolutely would not get away with. It's like, when somebody has a child that'll just do whatever it wants. And it's like, it's just, it's just Thomas. That's what he does. I feel like I am quite lenient with ARK, so I'm a bit biased on ARK's side.
Yeah, I can understand that. To me, I find it harder and harder, especially on ASA. In Survival Evolved, I could totally do that because it was like in early access for like 10 years. It was a unique experience. There was a lot of bugs that got fixed. It got better and better. And at the end of the day, it wasn't even that expensive. It was on sales quite a bit. But like when ASA got released and announced, even like it was supposed to be for free, then it wasn't. It was supposed to be like super optimized and super great looking. It really wasn't. I know that it got better. I know that a lot of people still find these graphics much better than the Survival Evolved ones, but to me, I find it to be just such a chore to set up the game in a way where it's at least partially playable in terms of performance, and I feel like no other game should get away with that, and it doesn't really. I think that's one of the main reasons why some people just straight up skip ARK when it comes to trying it out, because they know that when it comes to like optimizations, when it comes to just releasing these DLCs and them being riddled with bugs, it's kind of a nightmare. And of course you could argue, like, look at The Sims, they release bugs that are broken all the time, and it takes them years to like optimize things. But I feel like The Sims is slightly different, and it's not as bad to run it, and you can still, like, get your clothes, get your hairstyles and stuff like that. But like when it comes to Ark, I don't know, I feel like it is not really excusable anymore. Like when I first tried the Lost Colony, I wasn't aware of the freaking like at least 3 commands in the console to make the game essentially playable, and I feel like not a lot of people are, and they shouldn't be. Maybe
No.
the game shouldn't like freaking crank out some of those like nanite Unreal 5 features, or freaking dynamic clouds and fog fucking everywhere, just to make it cool on screenshots, but only allow you to run at like 15 to 20 fps. Maybe that's not the best idea.
So for the commands, I was aware of them, but I never needed to use them until they did Ragnarok, and it was just I couldn't see there's fog everywhere, and it didn't feel fun and it didn't look nice. And then somebody because I was streaming it, and someone in chat suggested, because there's a command that does the fog and the shadows at the same time, or you can do them separately. And when they did that, I could see so much better. The game it's brighter, so it's definitely not supposed to be like that. It does take a little bit away from it, but it was just because of that, because of not being able to see. I don't know why they did this for Ragnarok with the stupid fog everywhere.
Yeah, the game definitely gets more vibrant.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew about those from that. So when I started playing Lost Colony, I was like, yeah, no, with obviously the snowstorms and stuff like that, it's just not. I would say even if you had a NASA PC, you're still not going to get great performance having all the bells and whistles on, like having the fog everywhere, having all that kind of stuff. So, and you're right, people shouldn't need to know that there are console commands you can do. There should just be a nice little slider where you go, all right, I'm going to turn that down, or I'm going to turn that down, and you can do it that way.
It should be involved in like those presets, hey, I have like a medium PC, I have low freaking graphics and stuff like that. And I agree, like to me on Lost Colony, like having the fog felt like an increased difficulty, because like when you appear in those certain dangerous areas, you cannot see shit. Like you cannot even like crank up your gamma or brightness. You cannot like use a torch to see through that, and you just get freaking murderized. And I like nice fog. I like it, for the visual aspects of the game. I would probably prefer to play with it, but like not at the cost of like being unable to move, or like my stream freaking freezing, because like my entire PC is just so freaking busy rendering the game. It doesn't even have enough horsepower to like take care of the stream, and I kind of hate that, and I feel like it's so unnecessary. And I saw a few videos recently of people trying to play Lost Colony on like RTX 5090, basically the bleeding edge of graphics, the most expensive graphics card that probably costs more than some people's vehicles, automobiles or bikes, I don't know for what. Like, it's too much, and no one should be forced to buy like something so freaking expensive just to run a video game. And especially if there are older games that generally look better, much better.
Yeah, I would say graphically, yes, it's an upgrade from Evolved, but I didn't feel like it was hardware intensive to start off with. When it was just the island, it got a little bit more difficult when it brought out Operation, because you remember I was having issues with the lighting and everything on Operation, and that's when I've originally started to notice things like this causing issues. And then it got worse with Ragnarok, and then Lost Colony is there's a lot of things that have got worse since Lost Colony, like I was explaining to you in the DMs. Updates are taking forever just to update the game. Like it'll be, and they're trying to update the game every week. 20 minutes. I don't have a bad PC. There's nothing else going on. I put that down. I go and make me dinner, and then I come back, and it's still not done. It's a bit weird because I feel like it's getting less optimized instead of more optimized as it goes on.
Right? And I feel like they should have learned all of these lessons while they had Survival Evolved, because it's the exact same issues that were plaguing that game too. Yeah, it also ran like shit and looked like shit until they fixed it.
Like I keep saying it's like, people are waiting for GTA 6. They've already got GTA 5. It's massively successful. They should know what they're doing by now. Ark Survival Evolved. It's been out for, I don't know, donkey's years, as we would say. And they didn't learn anything from then. Like, they didn't learn. Like, we knew we were going to face issues because we did then. But, you have this little hope, well, it's new. They know what they're doing now, right?
Yeah, and there is
And
probably
then you're
even
like,
more like
no.
insidious explanation that might be possible. They knew and they still know, they just kind of don't give a fuck because they know that they don't have to release a perfect product for, their fans to essentially buy it at all costs, to try it out, to see it, to play with their friends. And maybe that's good enough for them, because they're working on ARK 2 and that's gonna be their big freaking shiny Halo project, that will be there to essentially get them the wider audience.
It's not fair though, because I love Ark and the new map. I'm enjoying the new map. But for other people to want to get into it, if they try and play it and it runs like crap because they don't know about all the tips and tricks, you shouldn't have to know about, let's be honest, to get just a playable experience. And then they're being, I would say, having your eyeballs ripped out while you're paying for it. You're paying like £30 for a game. And then obviously this DLC itself was 30 quid. £60 just for two little things where you can kind of justify it if it is what it should be. If it was as nice as it could be and can be and runs as good as it could, then you go, oh yeah, I mean, look, we're paying for quality. And it's like you're giving us this nice thing that has so much potential, but you're letting the side down a little bit, I feel.
Indeed. This absolutely had potential to be worth the asking price, but we got it for free, and I feel like we may have been persuaded to buy it if it got like on a sale or something. I certainly would. I don't think I would buy it for a full price because games are freaking too expensive, and I love ARK, and I have many other avenues to enjoy ARK, besides the newer stuff. And I'm usually one of those people that, much to Nice's dismay and anger, I don't like trying out these games that I'm interested in while they're unfinished, while they're riddled with bugs,
Absolutely.
while it's an incomplete experience in early access. Unless it's like Asuka or the ARK itself, which is kind of going against my initial argument, I prefer to just wait for the best possible version of the game, or at least good enough, where I can have fun, and then I don't mind like waiting half a year or a year, but like it loses my interest afterwards, whenever I finish it or play it enough when it's shitty, and like the shittiness of it sticks with me, and it's hard for me to then force myself to try it again.
Yeah, it's like it leaves a bad first impression, and it has for a lot of people. Like I put off getting Ascended for a while because we already had Evolved. We knew Evolved was, well, I say working until they broke it, but we already had that, and I wasn't going to get Ascended. And then I thought, I think I got like the game itself on sale. I'm not sure. I don't think I paid full price. And then I did, and I did enjoy it, but again, yeah, we have the bugs, but it's very easy to have people put off by seeing stuff like that, and if all you're seeing is kind of videos like, oh, this isn't right or this is going wrong. There are a lot of people that have been enjoying Ascended though. Like I know there are. They just probably just hardcore ARK fans.
Yeah, ARK has a very strong legion of addicts that just want to freaking tame, that want to raise babies, that want to build bases, that want to do PvP stuff, that just enjoy living in this wonderful digital world full of companions and wonderful creatures and potential friends to enjoy it with. So, like, it kind of tugs on their heartstrings or plays with their emotions, and it's such a shame that they just can't polish the experience a bit more, because it is possible. It just requires time and effort, and for some reason they insist on like releasing these DLCs quite fast, and they
it has been like
don't properly test them. They don't take their time. They don't put the effort in like certain other games do, and I feel like it's a huge mistake, and it could give them so much more like positive I don't even know. It would bring more people in from the outside that are discouraged of ever trying ARK because of all these negative mentions, that are just everywhere. Like, whenever you mention ARK, everyone immediately thinks, oh, that's an unoptimized game that has too many DLCs, it's expensive, it's essentially early access, even though it's full release, and it's so unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, releasing games when they're not ready. Just let them be ready. They've had enough time. They have had enough time for this to have come out, like just ascended itself to come out and work. They had enough time before they released it for that to have, all the bugs should have been polished out. It's not like they would be short of testers as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we know that. People would love to have tested it and make sure everything works as much as it can do. And then when they push it out, the least bugs, the better. Like, these days, you expect a few things. You just do for any game. Like, oh, it's early access. Oh, it's just been released and now we're working on it. And you're like, all right. But there's so many things have gone wrong with it. I know, I think it was when Ragnarok came out. Some people lost their ARK saves because of an issue. And that put them off. And then these were like hardcore ARK people. But because, as you said, some people love this game so much, they put a lot into it. They've got all their teams, they've got all their builds. They might stay on one map for a year, and they can work on it. They work on it daily or as often as they can do, and they have so much invested. And then, through no fault of their own, something happens and they lose all that progress. It is disheartening. And these are people that love the game. That's how much they love the game. They spent most of their life on it, and their waking hours on it. And then they just get kicked in the face, and it's not their fault, and it's like, oof.
Yeah, and it's these hardcore fans that kind of just get properly rewarded, for their loyalty with a bag of shit at their door, and it's so unnecessary. It's such a shame, and I feel like they're losing money because of it. Because if they reconsidered this shitty-ass attitude, they could have probably gotten more sales because of it. But it is what it is. They're probably not going to change their mind. Maybe it's impossible. Maybe what we're discussing is genuinely technologically, or maybe they're understaffed. Or maybe they're just like, hey, let's get this out of the door as soon as possible. We're gonna get as much money as we can, because that's what we need. Otherwise, we'll go under. And who knows, like, what happens under the hood of Wildcard or whatever is currently in charge of them.
Yeah, it is one of those things. There could be many reasons behind it, but if they just slow it down, I know I was excited for Ragnarok to come out, and then I got hit in the face with fog and other things, and I was like, I was excited for this because that's one of the nostalgic maps for me, like Valgaro and Ragnarok. Then Valgaro comes out, and there's shadows make it look like everything's covered in mud. If I'm inside of something, it looks like I'm covered in mud. I turn the shadows off, it's fine. Like, stuff like that, it kind of, because I think ARK is nostalgic for people, and they were looking forward to these maps that, that they played years ago, and they're going to be like a better looking version. And then we get stuff like that, and you're like,
it's like, has anyone actually tried it before you guys released it?
Yeah. You're like, I was excited for this, and you've just pissed on me chips. Thanks. And then at least with this new one, Lost Colony, I wasn't going to get it because I'm not paying £30 for a DLC. I'm straight up telling you that. I am not paying £30 for a DLC. I don't care what you put in it. That is the price of the game.
Yeah. And it is of many games that are better than this.
Yeah, and it does add so much. You've got the leveling, you've got your little skill trees, and you've got stuff like that. And the map itself looks great when you can see it. Obviously, when you put your little codes in, and then you can see. And there's a lot. Like, it's got loads of potential. The map itself, certain parts look great. Some of them look a bit, I don't want to say unfinished, just kind of a bit weird that they're so empty when the rest of the map's like quite, the terrain's not really flat in many places. So then the places where it is, you kind of like, this just looks like a wide open space. Bit weird for that map.
Yeah, I agree that this map is perfectly defined by the word potential. And I feel like it is definitely there. It feels very different. It's still ARK, but I kind of enjoy the strange height of the map, when you essentially most of the map are mountains and everything is so freaking high and you have to kind of climb on these narrow paths, and it does feel cool. It is unique, and I enjoy that there is snow fucking everywhere. It just feels different, just like, for example, Scorched Earth felt quite different, compared to other maps when it was first released, even though not a lot of people are fans of desert, but like I like different, and I like that they're trying different things. And the giant fucking city was so freaking cool. I was so excited to finally explore it, but when I got there I just realized that it's just the same NPCs just walking about, shooting at you or riding their dinos, and like drops that you can never freaking see because ARK gods are fucking stingy on me. And I just feel like such a massive freaking city probably, I don't know, should have more reasons for you to visit it instead of just going there, to like hunt. And like, I know that there are some mechanics tied into it. I know you can get there with a flyer, which freaking pissed me off at the beginning. But like, so many freaking houses, like people should live there, or like more NPCs should be there to interact with, and not everyone should be so fucking hostile, and all of these events on the map, maybe it should just be more than just like, hey, defend this, or hey, attack this. Like, I don't know, maybe like add some gameplay mechanics to all this stuff that's already there, like causing all these performance issues. Like, use it, otherwise just make it smaller and make it more meaningful.
Absolutely. Like the cities because the first at first I was like, I hate the snow everywhere. I like things to be, I love the snow. If there's a place, if I'm playing on a map and I can live in the snow, I'm living in the snow. But if that's your only choice, kind of like, I'm not sure about this. I wanted to see a bit more greenery, But still, what I did see was beautiful. I love the the different colored areas. Somebody described them as Avatar style area.
Oh yeah.
So those kind of things were nice. The caves, beautiful. The caves.
Yeah. And the tie-in with Aberration, which both of us are huge fans of, is very much welcome, right?
Oh yeah, you can tell it's there. It's great. The city itself looks great, but you can't get in any of the buildings. So they're there. They look nice from the outside, but there isn't a purpose for them. And like you said, it is just NPCs patrolling, which that's fine. And you can get some good stuff when you kill them, but...
You know what it feels like to me? It feels exactly like whenever you're on an RP server and you visit like a singular person that has this giant fucking base filled with like, giant crafting station halls and like storages and stables and like a house for 20 people, and it's just them alone there.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Why are you wasting this spot? Like, what's the purpose of this? It doesn't make sense. You're a singular person. You should live in a freaking shack or like in a tent or crash with someone. There is no purpose for this. This wouldn't be a thing.
It is. It's like an RP town that doesn't get used except just NPCs walking around. Like if, say, it was Conan and we plopped it down in one of the Dafari camps and there's just Dafari walking around and then there's all these buildings, but you can't use them. It's nice. It is nice to look at. And when my first initial try, I was like, oh, okay, I'm excited to explore this a bit more. And I have a little bit, not a lot. I've kind of stayed out of those areas because I was wanting to get a couple of baryonyx and, breed them and get a stronger animal, even though mine are quite strong. But, I have that thing about not wanting to lose them. Sorry, that's just my Dano landing on the mic.
That's
but
okay.
It was it was underwhelming. And like you said, with the drops, I might not have been in the right part of the area, but I didn't see any loot drops. When I go into the caves, because we're both playing single player, things are very slow to spawn in. Things like that are, but NPCs aren't, because once they've started, say I'm in an area and I kill some stuff, the NPCs are back before I get out of the cave. They're coming back that fast, but other stuff isn't. Like the loot drops and stuff, or when I go somewhere, I could be there for ages. I might have been in plenty of spots where loot drops are supposed to spawn, and I haven't seen them.
It would be really nice if ARK, in their infinite wisdom, learned that some people actually like to try their game in a single player from time to time, and that they're not just tech savvy enough to start their own servers, or they don't have enough money to pay for one, or maybe they just don't want to be bothered and they just want to press play, you know, and just try it out for the first time, like learn it, you know, before they join forces with someone on a freaking multiplayer server. But for some reason, they just insist on completely like cucking the experience, you know, and like making it worse, and like not spawning certain things, or forcing you to just completely do a weird ass alchemy, you know, with your settings, just to kind of get close to the proper multiplayer experience. And it's such an unnecessary, shameful thing. I feel like it's like single player should be sacred, you know. There should be perhaps put some effort into it so that the people who buy the game could actually experience it, you know, the way it was meant to be experienced.
It's kind of mean as well, because if you try and play unofficial, and I have plenty of times, different maps and everything, it isn't fun as a single person going in. You get, if you can try, you can add. When I was playing on the Sentinel, wasn't the Sentinel, which one was it? One of them anyway, when it first came out. I was playing on one of them, and 5 different servers I had to spawn on before the the noob area wasn't totally overrun by just people just blocking off things left, right, and center. And then if you can get yourself a nice little build spot, it can decay quite quickly. Then there's no way can you, if you have a life, a full-time job, or just, you know, other interests, breeding animals, unless you do it at the weekend, and then you have to be there to then try and do the next ones at the weekend. It's difficult to experience those kinds of bits of ARK, just even getting yourself set up. So somebody wanting to try it out on single player, maybe it is kind of their gateway into maybe trying official, once they've seen, oh, I can enjoy this by myself, I'll see what official's like. If you're ruining the single player experience, if you're making that hard for them to like just get comfortable with, they're going to think, and they'd be right, at official, it's just going to be a lot worse. It's going to be a lot harder on you. And it is.
And you lose the initial thing we talked about, you know, that creates the charm about ARK, the modability, the customizability, and you're kind of sentenced to just experience the way ARK was meant to be played, which means like extremely low gathering rates, which means increased difficulty, which means like meeting racist people that will either not speak or that should never open their mouth because nothing good comes out of it. And it's not exactly an experience that a lot of people would want to experience. You know, some people just want to try out a game on the single player when it's just them and they're in control of the experience, and then it's just a PvE and PV whatever, you know, against the dinos and the harsh elements and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like, as obviously a PvE person, I'm not in for the PvP stuff, and I really couldn't on ARK. If I lost all my stuff, that's it, I'm rage quitting. But it's not fun unofficial. For me, it hasn't been, and it's a lot of and everyone I've been on, it's been a lot of greedy people taking up more space than they need to, and it's not.
Diamond
I understand
traps.
that. Yeah, I understand if for PvP, like, you know, you're competing against others and it's fine, but some people treat the official map as theirs. They'll wall off massive amounts of areas, and they'll foundation spam and everything. And you're like, why? You're just logging on every now and again just to keep that massive spot of the map for just. Some people say that as a sport. And ARK themselves, the makers of the game, the way they have it for renting servers, I think, is it still you can only go for that there certain one now?
They try to, I believe so, but you can launch the server manager like from your own dedicated server if you have one.
Yeah, no, I did that for Operation when I was playing with Jack. So I did it from my PC because you only needed to be on when I was on, so I went through that setup.
Yeah.
But they don't even make it easy, and it's not competitive to rent a server, which means it's expensive.
Indeed.
There's no competition there to rent a server, so they're making it difficult for people to get into it unless you've completely open-minded and you don't like bugs, and you don't mind bugs, and you don't mind the fact that like you get kicked in the face with single player. I'm going to use dino spawns on my map for instance. Still, no baryonyx have spawned.
I remember on my very first day, I had nothing but baryonyxes and those freaking lizards around that little lake of mine. So yeah, sometimes the spawns are definitely weird, especially when it
But
comes to
it's.
the stuff that you're looking for currently. And what
I
you
even
get,
put
you
a
always get
dino
fucking
mod on.
managamars everywhere.
Yeah, I hate them. I put the Dino Finder mod on because I thought, right, I'm going to have a look. It's because it's single player and I'm just going with the
Yeah,
flow.
you
I have
actually need
things
to
I
be
want.
there in the place where they spawn to give them a chance to spawn, and then you kind of need to wait there for them to spawn.
Yeah. And it's like, I just kind of, if I can't get the thing that I want, there's always something else I can get. But I put the Dino Finder on thinking, so the thing, if it does spawn, and I keep checking for baryonyx, no. And it's been days, which means it's been like a good few hours, and I've done dino wipes and stuff like that. If that was official, oh my god! If I couldn't get the thing that I wanted, if that's I know there's so many different dinos you can get, but if there's a specific one, or you need a specific one, and you're just like, nah, it would be so disheartening to go around if that's what you did for the day. I mean, if you have plenty of time, it's a good place to explore anyway. And I always
Yeah.
like exploring maps, but at the same time, what's going on?
Yeah, the single player game is just a lesser experience when it comes to ARK. Like, you will only properly experience the game in its best possible state when you run it on a server that you yourself are in control of, because every single ARK player probably has a different idea about what should be the right mod list and what should be the right
Yeah.
setting. So it's kind of difficult, but it can be a lot of fun. And I definitely recommend anyone who is interested in trying ARK or trying one of the DLCs to essentially run their own server. Because if you try the normal single player way, it's just not going to be optimal, and you're going to struggle with the settings, you're going to struggle with not finding the dinos you need or getting the loot drops. And it has some advantages. You can just kind of pause the game whenever you want to. You can just kind of pick up where you left off, without being afraid that all your dinos will starve to death, because whenever you stop playing, your entire world stops. But that has advantages and disadvantages, so it is what it is. It's still
It
ARK though.
is. It is quite. I would say it's not quite easy to set up. Once you've set it up, once you've got it going, it's easy to update and stuff. You can, like, as you said, it goes off when you want it to go off. You're not going to get everything decaying overnight or anything. And yeah, it's the same, I think, for me and Conan as well, which is why sometimes I'll rent a server, even if it's just me playing, because the server experience is better than the single player experience, and ARK is the same.
Indeed. And whenever you want to essentially run a server on your own PC, you are essentially rendering both worlds, like both your experience by playing the ARK and also the server itself. So that's why it is just overall a better idea to run the game, the server, from somewhere else and then logging on it, from your own PC.
I was all right with mine when I was doing
It's because you have a powerful freaking machine,
operation.
but not everyone does.
Because I do know, obviously, running any kind of server off your own machine's intensive.
Yeah.
But but to be fair though, there was only me and Jack playing, and when I have mods, I don't have a massive list. I only want a handful of like the basic ones. I don't need too much stuff. Mine's normally centered around dinos. So with two people and a handful of mods, it was okay. I think if I went for something crazy, like a 30 mod and had like 10 people or something, my PC might have set on fire. But it was all right for what I was using it for.
So just so we're not just salty old dogs just complaining about everything, yelling at the clouds for being white. What would be the biggest priority in your opinion that the ARC devs should address when it comes to making the ASA, or more specifically this particular DLC, the Lost Colony? What would make the experience better, especially for you?
I think for me, just looking at it, I'm going to say just if I was a new player coming to it, the optimization really. I'm going to have to say optimization, because for me, the only thing, like I was saying to you, things that I miss are ARC things. I miss the terminals. I hardly ever used them, but like I just liked them being on the map. It's one of those ways visually where you know which way you're heading and you don't have to get your map out all the time. Like for me, Obviously, once you learn the map, it's a lot easier to get around anyway.
I
But just when
hate
you're
the
starting
map in
off,
ASA / in Lost Colony. For some reason, to me, like it's constantly glitchy. It looks weird. It's like my graphical settings somehow affects the map the most. The game looks fine, but the map is just like all freaking smudgy to me. But I
it's
agree.
okay.
I agree about the terminals. It must be like some kind of weird freaking graphical issue on my end. But I agree with the terminals. That was my biggest source of frustration because I had nowhere to make my freaking cryopods and there was no like intuitive way for me to do so. And because my drops weren't
Yeah.
spawning and it wasn't even working like when I finally found a drop. So yeah, I had to essentially look up a video on how to make cryopods.
Yeah, that is difficult because I'm okay because one of my go-to mods is super cryo storage, so you just need crystal to make those.
Okay.
Well, you can make them quite early. Well, not early on. You have to be a certain level, but even then, you have to then create your own super cryo storage terminal thingy to then set the settings to say that you don't need one of those to be nearby when you release your dinos from it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a whole load of cryo dinos that you can't do anything with until you get the materials to then make the terminal, which let's talk about the fact that I can't. Keratin's a hell of really hard to get my hands on. But anyhow, having the terminals, like I said, I liked it. It helped me with directions. Like, okay, I'm going towards the green one, or I'm going towards the blue one. Like I know where I'm going with that. And for obviously when you want to, if you do the actual proper pods, that's the way to do it. Otherwise, as you said, with these drops, they're just ridiculously low spawning in single player. I've got no idea what it's like on official because I haven't tried this one. It's those little ARK things, like stuff like that, and loot drops. It used to be nice flying around in the dark, seeing the beams for the loot drops that are coming down. Even though I hardly ever got anything decent, even on single player.
Just the hope, that there
might
might be something like an ascended chainsaw, for some reason. It's nice to
just
have.
The fact getting like you could get a better weapon.
Yeah, better saddle, better aiming weapon.
Yeah, stuff like that. I don't. That feels a little bit missing.
Indeed,
I think if the drops were working correctly, then we might not miss that so much.
Yeah, it gives you less reasons to just fly about, and explore.
Yeah,
doesn't really reward
you. 100%, I would say, because that is the nighttime exploring used to be fun.
Yeah, it definitely was. Especially like if the drop lands next to like a freaking pack of wild Allosauruses, and you need to land nearby. And what you're gonna do, are you gonna kill them all? Are you gonna quickly drop next to the freaking drop and you'll grab it before they get you?
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to do the sneak tactics. You're gonna have to just go in like guerrilla warfare. What you're doing, but then it gets taken away for this. And as much as I like the terrain being all different, there isn't a lot of, I don't need a lot of flat area, but you're kind of forced to follow paths unless you're on a flyer. You can't really make your own way across the map. It is very path orientated.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Sipta map in Conan, kind of.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that, yeah. There are certain ways that you can travel, in some ways you cannot.
But it's still ARK, and we still, to a certain degree, love it, because it gives us the unique experience where we just get to have some fun. We can turn off our brains. We can listen to a podcast while we're freaking playing. We can just kind of, forget about life and live in this digital world and get some freaking cool creatures and build up our base and get some better stuff and slowly craft our way, towards the end game. And it's still fun. And I would definitely recommend this DLC to anyone who just loves, ASA or ARK in general. But grab it on sale. Do yourself a favor and don't grab it now, because the more you wait, the better it's gonna get. But unfortunately, I feel like it could have been worth the asking price, but I don't really think it is in its current state. There is not enough content to justify it, and although the map is nice, like there are modded maps that are also nice for free, or you can just download, so it's not really all that freaking unique. And the leveling up stuff, yeah, it is nice, but again, there are mods where it can freaking give you like cool abilities and cool freaking gear and additional stuff, that can improve your game. Like for now, it's just small freaking upgrades, like, hey, I do 5% more shooting damage, or I can have like more carrying ability, yay, great.
Yeah, I think the problem with that is because obviously we come from games where leveling up actually means something.
Oh yeah.
It is when you're leveling up skills or you're doing it means more to us in other games, and then it's they've implemented it, but it's not as in depth as it could be, but then it's also not as simple as it could be at the same time. They could have made it really simple, not have so many options, had just had some good ones.
Indeed, indeed. They kind of went for the quantity as opposed to quality, and it feels a bit strange, that you kind of need to craft 1,000 arrows, in order for you to slightly progress and get like more freaking points, on the board, so you can invest it into like these useless perks.
Yeah, it's I don't mind it. I
It feels like on a
feel
battle pass to me, whenever
yeah.
you needed to unlock something just to have it, you needed within a certain time window to like craft, certain stuff. And it's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's
Just let me
and
play the
it's
game.
also it feels very TOO season 4. Make so many carpets, make such and such, and then you
Oh,
go in and get
yeah.
your rewards.
Yeah, in order for you
It
to increase your power of a character, you need to get 15, diamonds that you crafted, from these freaking quests and stuff.
exactly. It feels like that, like you're doing it just to do it, not that it's tied into the thing that you're trying to get. Like with one of the Conan mods that I use sometimes, you have to actually do that thing to then level up that thing. So if you want to get better at forestry, you have to use the pickaxe. It makes sense. And if you want to get better at making armor, you have to actually make armor, practice it, that kind of thing. With ARK, craft up your spark powder. Okay, well, great. Am I going to unlock something that's got something to do with guns? No, you're not. You're just doing it to do it.
Yeah. That's why I love whenever games essentially reward you with power the more you do certain stuff. So, for example, you will get better at swinging your sword and do more damage exclusively with sword if you use the sword. Not if you freaking grab berries, or not if you walk 10,000 meters, straight line in a straight line. Just make it so that regardless, depending on the action you make, you get better at that action, not something
Yeah.
completely unrelated.
There's a lot of, I think at this point, there's a lot of games that they could have took inspiration from, or they could have looked at and saw what works for this kind of community, of what are other games doing. You don't have to rip them off, but just to get a sense of what people enjoy and how it's done. Because,
Yeah.
there's always games that have come before, like with Myth of Empires. To get better with your sword, you have to use your sword. Like, to get better at taming, you have to go out and tame, which it makes sense. I thought it was a bit frustrating to start off with, but it does make sense. And I like that they're trying something with this. I just feel like it needs tweaked. That needs,
Yeah. And you made a great
something done
point.
to it.
It is absolutely baffling to me that these developers that made ARK couldn't like ask themselves, how do other games do it, and what people actually like? Like, would they enjoy this strange RPG experience, or would they enjoy something that actually works? From other games that have good reception when it comes to these systems. It's not that hard to get inspired by something that's already works, and I feel like what they created was kind of like shitty.
It's To me, it feels like some things. It's when like we do RP. Well, I don't anymore, but we used to. I've played on servers where the owner doesn't know RP. They just wanted to own a server, and they have certain things that they want to implement, but they don't understand the RP aspect. And like, you're running an RP server, but you don't know what we want. And sometimes it feels like with these kinds of games, and it's not just ARK, it's decisions made by someone who doesn't actually play the game, or things implemented by somebody who isn't part of the community. They don't play the game. They just think this would be cool, and then they want to throw it in. And you go, well, it might, and it could totally be for like a different game, but for the audience that you have right now, maybe do something that this audience would like, or something that's new, but you still think that the target audience would enjoy.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point that applies to both coders, modders, artists, and just developers, game developers in general, because a lot of people are very stubborn. They have this idea about the system they want to make, they want to see if it works, and oh, it works. But like, they don't ask themselves, should I actually do this? Should I actually work on this? Like, for
Who wants
example,
this?
I love modding currently in Conan Exiles, and I had this idea, I was thinking to myself, how can I make food crafting more worthwhile, for those particular professions? Like, what can I do to make food stand out, as not just like a pretty picture that you consume and your food and thirst goes up, because you replenish those particular needs. I thought to myself, food allergies. Let's make it randomized so that whenever you eat something, 20% of people have a chance to just die or experience unpleasant effects. But then I thought to myself, maybe that's not exactly the reason why players actually log in on RP servers to enjoy this. Maybe they would consider this to be essentially power gaming. They did not really want this at the very beginning. They didn't write it down in their backstories. And although this would be a cool system, not everyone would probably enjoy this.
That's like a Gunsmoke thing. So ARK RP Gunsmoke, you could get illnesses, and doctors they had different things that they could give you to diagnose said illness, which is fine. But when it comes to you've been bitten by a snake or a scorpion, and you will just keep dying unless you get the antivenom. If there's no doctors on, if there's no doctors on, you're not getting the antivenom, so you're just going to have to log off. And some illnesses gave you the spins, as it was called. And as somebody with motion sickness,
oh god,
it was absolutely awful. I don't think anybody wanted it, but the guy that made the mod, and I think he either ran the server or was one of the admin on the server, it was something that he put in. And it's like, okay, I understand what you were going for. You were wanting to make doctors useful, and they can be, but when you're making people, the actual players, not want to have anything to do with it, it made me think, like, who's your audience?
Indeed. At the end of the day, these developers, these modders, they should think more about the player that will be using their mods instead of, hey, is this actually something I can do? Maybe should I do it? So
yeah,
know your
I
audience.
wouldn't want to stifle people's creativity. Like, otherwise, we'd not get anything new if people weren't trying to think outside the box. But just maybe tailor it a little bit.
You need to combine it. You need to combine your mad scientist with what can actually help people, what can make their experience better if you want your mod to actually be used.
Or ways to just ease people in, so then you could progress the mod further and add more things that you want to add.
Or make it optional.
Let people get yeah, exactly. Totally optional. You could do that. Or have settings, like with a certain Conan mod. They tried to force everything on people, and they were like, no, we're just going to remove your mod. Then they had to implement settings so people could say, right, well, I don't want this part, or I don't want that part, I don't want this to affect things. That's doesn't happen in many mods, but that is a good idea for a lot of them. If you're going to implement something crazy and there's a few things you think people might like, you could have like an optional kind of, like with the questing system in Lost Colony. Yeah, it's optional, but if they made that kind of tweakable, customizable to maybe fit people's server settings or how people want to play, they may actually end up doing that, but it's just an idea.
Yeah, if I actually heard from other ARK RP servers essentially creating their own like overhaul mods, and it does seem like this particular feature isn't really working well with like existing mods, and it's not really all that customizable, and it's such a shame because if they created this as a blueprint, for modders to essentially transform into like different systems, or to simplify, or to make even more complicated, depending on like what mod they're making, that would have been such a great feature and addition that could be added into ARK itself, and not just kind of lock it in this DLC version to make it like something that you need to invest 30 freaking bucks for just to experience, just to get it. It's a shame because this definitely had the potential to be more of a unique feature for ARK, like a gift, to modders and players alike.
Yeah, I mean, people often like, question systems and stuff. It's a nice little thing to have, but as I said, it's a bit, he has 50 million things in your face. and then, go make you spark powder to get some of it. It's like, okay, was this really thought out?
Indeed, indeed. All right, Solitary, do you think we have ranted enough about ARK? I certainly do.
I think we have, but final thoughts would be, I still like it, and I'm going to keep playing the map to see kind of where it goes. And I think if it was on sale and somebody's a hardcore ARK fan and has been thinking about trying it, yeah, if it's on sale, but maybe don't go in for full price. It's too much for what it is right now.
Indeed, indeed. And unfortunately, things are expensive, and it doesn't really result in our salaries scaling up, along with the expenses. So we need to cut some costs and not increase them. And unfortunately,
Absolutely.
even though game developers really want to push this narrative, that games should cost more, these graphics are really pretty, and, we need to invest a lot of money into them, otherwise they won't be as pretty. How about you just make the game not as pretty, or maybe you don't add as much content, and just, or make it actually worth the asking price?
That's what I was going to say. If it was worth the price, if it was as pretty as it could be, or what they want it to be, then you wouldn't mind saving up for a few months, putting a bit away, like, oh, that game looks good, and you know what you're getting, and it works, then I would say, yeah, save up a little bit at a time and then get it for full price. But because it's not as polished as it should be for that asking price, that's what I would say no for the full price.
Indeed, indeed. All right. I think this was a wonderful first episode. Thank you so much, Solitary, for being my first test subject. You won't be the last, I can promise. I have plenty more topics I would like to discuss with you. For example, how to get a house. I would like to hear your rant about that. I would also...
You would have a rant about that, yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, moving and stuff, and like the economy and the affordability of houses when you're at our age, when it can be a subject, it can be something that you actually want, hey, let's buy a house. May not be the worst idea. Or other topics, like, for example, what's it like getting older? It's not fun. Let's discuss that. Or, for example, I had another one. Oh, Vampire Diaries. That is something that I promised you that we would one day have a podcast about, and it has to be done, because I want to hear you rant about those slutty vampires and their shenanigans.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. I want to rant about AI. I want to rant about so many things. That is what I'm known for. I am the unfortunate ranter, and sometimes I rant about RP. I rant about everything. I rant about people. I rant about politics. I rant about so many things. And yeah, that's what this avenue is for. And I would love to share this platform with other people. So hopefully we'll get some more guests. So there is, of course, always welcome to join me, because when it comes to ranting, she's second to none.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Have a good one, nerds, and let's see you out there. Well, there you go. We did it, and it almost sounded professional at times.